Welcome to Fall Creek Lodge. This is called the Dog Trot Cabin. It is modeled after pioneer cabins of the 1800s in Texas, many of which can still be seen in towns like Fredericksburg. Of course, this home is much larger than the early Texas cabins. Notice that there are two sections of the home separated by a breezeway or dog trot. When the pioneers moved to this area, they would usually build a log cabin first. Then later, when they wanted to expand, they would build a second section, often out of different materials. For example, if there was by then a lumber mill or a stonemason in the area, they would use whatever materials were available to them. In this home, reclaimed lumber from a cotton oil mill in Seguin, built in the 1890s, was used for the second section on the left here. This is the original lumber from the 1890s and shows how beautiful reclaimed lumber can be. If you're not familiar with this type of construction, it's referred to as board and batten. This is a traditional type of construction that is still used today. This is the board, and then the battens between the boards cover up the seams. And we can compare that to the log portion of the home, which we'll look at next. I want you to notice the craftsmanship in this log portion of the home. This is not a factory-built kit. This is the real deal. It's a real log home built by master Texas craftsmen from the ground up, log by log. The construction material is cedar, eastern red cedar, rather than the mountain cedar that we have in the hill country. These logs, these trees were from the Smithville area east of Austin. Cedar is an ideal building product for log homes because it checks and twists less than other types of lumber, and it's insect resistant. The product between the logs is referred to as chinking. It's in this case, a modern product somewhat like caulk. It's flexible and clings to the logs to create an airtight seal. It's a wonderful product that makes log homes doable today. It's just as good today as it was a dozen years ago when the home was built. Of particular interest is the front door. The door was made from two old antique Mexican doors, probably made of mesquite, that were found in Oklahoma. But to put them together to make an actual door required a craftsman that had to be found that could work with metal and wood. You'll notice that there's a lot of metal holding the door and pieces of the door together. This door weighs, I'm told, some 350 pounds, so it is a magnificent piece of art, really. If a log home is not designed properly, it can be a somewhat dark and dreary structure. But this home was designed with high ceilings and lots of windows, including the big picture windows that you see, to give it a great feel and sense of airiness. This is antique pine flooring of random lengths and random widths of both longleaf and shortleaf pine, specially custom milled just for this home. Custom-made chandeliers complement the rustic feel of the home. The parquet ceiling in the entryway gives way to the rusted tin ceiling. The country foodie in you will like the features of this kitchen, starting with the zinc countertop, which are an ideal addition to a country kitchen. In addition to their beauty, they have antibacterial properties. No country kitchen would be complete without a cast iron stove. But in this case, it's not really an antique cast iron stove, it's a modern stove with an antique design. Now here's a feature that you'll find interesting, especially kids like this. This is a hidden bookcase door that goes to the pantry and utility room. A lot of the furniture in the home is custom made just for the home, including this hutch. All of the doors in the home are antique, repurposed, reclaimed doors, including this kitchen door, which has wavy glass, which is a sure mark of an old door. Here we are on the back deck, surrounded by trees of all kinds. The feature trees behind me along the creek are these magnificent cypress trees, but also around the home are oaks and elms, pecans and walnuts, and a variety of other beautiful trees. We're in a veritable forest here. A delightful feature of this property is pristine Fall Creek. Indeed, there is over half a mile of the creek along or through the property. It's fall and the leaves are falling into the creek now. Normally the creek would be running at a much higher pace, but we're at the end of a 3.5-month drought in which we've received almost no rain at all, and yet it's still flowing. But most of the time it would be running through loudly, creating a wonderful, idyllic spot here on the back deck. And we're now on the side deck, which is a great place for entertaining. To the one side of the deck is the carport with the antique cupola, which is an interesting touch to the carport. And further out on the other side of the deck and below is the fire pit. You can imagine yourself with a large group of people during the cold weather having a great time around the fire. Also, we point out the vegetable garden and the landscaping. That's all native landscaping, which is deer resistant. Here we are back at the dog trot. There were several reasons the pioneers liked this type of construction. The main one, it provided a place to get out of the Texas heat. It would probably have been cooler here even than in the kitchen because of the stove that was in the kitchen. In the dog trot is a half bath, which we call the outhouse. Here in the screened-in porch there are 2 bedrooms. We call this part of the bunkhouse. Notice the beautiful longleaf pine gingerbread antique doors. We have this one and one on the room next door. There's several interesting features incorporated in this room. Behind me is the wall done in German style called Fachwerk, spelled F-A-C-H-W-E-R-K usually. If you look up to see the ceiling, the carpenters planed down some antique beaded board to give a particularly interesting look. And in the bathroom, you'll see the patina from the antique wood. It's the same material as in the living room, but wasn't planed down. This is the other downstairs bedroom, currently being used as an office. This is the treasure hunt room. When you're looking for reclaimed antique materials all over Texas, you look for materials that will work but just make you feel good. For example, this cypress wood with the blemishes, it's called Pecky cypress and has an interesting character to it. There are other features in this room, including the custom-made cabinets, the file cabinets. Here we are in the so-called Texas room. This wall is filled with over 90 maps and historical documents of Texas, including wanted posters of famous Texas outlaws. The ceiling is antique beaded board, and on the other walls are materials from the cotton oil mill that we've seen elsewhere in the house. You're looking at an antique dry sink, which is now a working sink. This sink originated in the state of Indiana. It got all the way to Texas. In this bathroom there's a shower and a refurbished antique clawfoot tub. Most of the materials in this room came from a church built in Taylor, Texas in 1901 and was torn down in the year 2003. Here you see the wall. This was the outside, the exterior wall of the church, and then this was the ceiling in the church. The local Taylor paper had a front page story on the church and said, "Condemned Church Finding Salvation." This house was designed as a retreat center, so we accommodate up to 15 people in this house. This bathroom has 2 showers and 2 sinks. Also notice the pretty antique Mexican doors. In this 5th bedroom and final room in the house, we first want to thank you so much for taking this tour of this historic home with us. In this particular room, we showcase more of the materials from not only the church from Taylor, but the cotton oil mill from Seguin. For example, the blue wall was the original 1901 wall from the church. The flooring, much of it came from the cotton oil mill, from the large pieces of lumber in that in that building that were milled especially for this home. Thank you again, and be sure to check our website for additional information.